What's going on, Forceful players? Ryan Miles here from On Tilt Gaming with episode 3 of our daily series. Still looking for a cool, fancy name for this. Jeremy Franklin had a couple suggestions, but if anyone else is looking to throw their idea into the mix, please leave a comment on social media letting me know what you think this series should be called. So, without further ado, episode 3 is going to be about playing your best game. And I guess as the last episode was about a healthy format, today is going to be about a healthy player. So what can you do to make your brain work better on the day of a tournament, right? This is something that I like to pay a lot of attention to in my tournaments because I understand the concept. I did a lot of math in college, that was my major, so I understand the importance of the extra 1%, the extra 2% over the course of a series of a career, right? So I've been playing Forcible for 3 years now. I know that some of the tournaments where maybe I didn't get enough sleep have probably bit me in the ass. And then the days where I, got 8 hours, I drank a Red Bull when I woke up, ate some fruit to get some fiber in my system, and things like that have actually improved my win rate over time. And a lot of people don't do that, and a lot of the pros you'll actually hear humble brag, right? They'll be like, oh, when I top 8 at this GP, I had only tested 3 times, and I slept for 2 hours the night before, and I was drunk the whole time. And it's like, all right, cool, that's feasible, right? So if you add all those things together, you're probably only docking your performance by about 15%. And that means that 85% of the situations you're going to be in are going to be played out exactly the same. But it's the super complicated situations where maybe all those factors come and add up together where you're actually going to make mistakes. And the longer that you exhibit this kind of behavior and the more times that you take these risks, the more times it's going to come around and actually bite you in the butt. Whether or not the times that it does are actually impacting on your overall tournament record gets into a whole nother level of it. But overall, you just really want to give yourself as good a chance as possible to perform in a tournament, especially if you're not a top 1% player, right? Especially if you're not a top 5% player. You want to take advantages to your performance. That is sleeping right, that is eating right, that is using caffeine to boost your performance. So I'm going to talk about some of my anecdotal evidence that I've used or things that I do to improve my tournament performance and try and use a little bit of science behind it. I've got some articles up to talk about. I'm not a nutritionist. I don't have any scientific background in any of this stuff. I'm just trying to talk about, again, just things that I've noticed and things that I do to help my performance in a tournament. So first up, let's get a little bit metaphysical, right? You are a brain inside of a skeleton. You can have the concept of a soul, whatever you want, but when it comes down to your decision-making process, you're a bunch of electrical signals firing inside of a skull, trying to navigate decision trees, right? That's all you are. That is you as a person. I'm sorry if it's kind of scaring you a little bit, but that's what's going on, right? So you really need to take care of your brain and of your body to make sure that it's devoting as much power as possible to the game that you are playing. And one thing that's going to help that, right, is just getting enough sleep. And when you sleep less, your brain becomes tired. And when your brain is tired, it is devoting attention, it is devoting neurons to focusing on the fact that it is tired. So you want to avoid this as much as possible, right? And one way to do that is simply to get enough sleep. Another way to do that is to take a performance-enhancing drug called caffeine. Caffeine is a very common drug in America, very staple presence in American life. But it is very, very good to not only help you combat being tired, but it also just makes you more alert and pay more attention. And I drink at least some form of caffeine before every single event. I can remember exactly one Grand Prix where I did not. It was Grand Prix Collinsville from last year. I was playing Lumia Hook. Round 1, I played against Dark Alice. I had this long, crazy, drawn-out game. I think it was against Jalen Rojas. And then we ended up in a draw. And I was like, man, if I had done this one thing like a turn sooner, I probably could have actually gotten that game. But it wasn't that big of a deal. Wasn't super tilted, blah, blah, blah. Okay, take a draw for round 1. Round 2, I play against one of the 3 Allosaurus players in the room. It wasn't Sarah Peck, it was some other guy. And I almost made a game-losing play where I flipped my Lumia into a Death Scythe. And then I went to attack and flicker my Captain Hook, and he's like, oh, no, you don't have swiftness. And I'm like, oh, I should have just attacked with my Captain Hook and flickered my Captain Hook at normal speed. But now I can't do that. He plays this 12-12 dragon. I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to lose this game. Eventually we finish out the round on the last turn of time. I kill him. And I'm like, okay, that's really not good that I just have made 2 mental missteps in a row. I need to get some caffeine in my system immediately. And even though I had had like a decent night's sleep before that tournament, I knew that I needed to be consistent with the routine that I was used to using, and I got, you know, an energy drink from the stand, and then finish out the day. I had a draw next round against another Dark Alice, while I guess the caffeine was still kicking in, but that one there really wasn't that much I could do about it, but then I managed to win out the rest of the day, and then end up taking third in the tournament. So like, energy drinks were something that I was drinking almost every day at that point in my life. I don't do it anymore, but I still drink them for tournaments. So really, like, caffeine just makes your brain work better. I mean, there are other illegal ways to do that, but I don't mess with those, right? I want my body to be healthy 60 years from now, so caffeine is what I use to make sure that my brain is functioning optimally. Another thing that I think is important, and something that I don't like as much as energy drinks, is fruit, right? So fruits are interesting because they have a lot of sugar in them, and you really, just like energy drinks, you don't want a lot of sugar all at the same time, because it's gonna spike your insulin or your blood sugar or something, right? It's gonna hit you all at once, and then that means later you're gonna crash. And when you got a 6-7 round tournament, you don't want to crash in round 5 and round 6, when those are the most important rounds, you know, if you're on the bubble. What fruit does is, because fruit has, I think it's healthier sugar, don't quote me on that, but it does have a lot of fiber, and I'm reading this off of this monitor over here. Fruit has a whole lot of fiber, which actually slows down your body's digestion of glucose, so you don't get the crazy insulin spike and subsequent crash that candy causes. That means your body has more time to use up glucose as fuel before storing it. So fruit, I hate fruit. I think the texture of it is gross. I never eat it in my normal life, but usually on the day of a tournament, the day before a tournament, I'll grab an apple, or I'll grab a fruit snack from the concession stands, or like on a convenience store on the way there, because I know that it does make me feel better throughout the day. Especially in combination with an energy drink like a Red Bull or a Monster, because those tend to have a lot of sugar in them. You really want that energy being spread out, and making sure that you're not hitting that crash round 6, round 7, like your most important rounds. Another thing is, if possible, I try to get like sugar-free energy drinks, because I do want the caffeine, I do want the guaranine, the taurine, that kind of stuff, but I don't want the sugar that's gonna make me super alert and almost jittery. I don't want that, right? So that's kind of my routine, and like I said, I'm reading off of a screen for my evidence here, but that's what I use to help make sure that my brain is operating at peak performance. And another thing is, when it comes to your daily diet, you want to have a healthy enough standard that you're not going through withdrawals on the weekend, right? And again, this is about caffeine, nothing else besides that. But if I'm, like, when I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh, it was after Yu-Gi-Oh. So when I was playing Force Will 2 years ago, like when I started playing, I was drinking like 2 energy drinks a day. Like, I wasn't drinking coffee, I wasn't drinking tea. I was like, all right, I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna drink an energy drink, noon's gonna hit, I'm gonna start feeling tired, I'm gonna drink another one, and then I'm gonna go about my day. So when I would play Force Will on the weekends, I would just keep up with that routine, right? I wouldn't increase my dose. I think it's a very bad idea to drink 3 energy drinks in a single day. That's just terrible for your heart. But I would make sure that I'm at least being consistent, right? I wake up, I drink an energy drink. Round 4 comes around, I'm like, all right, I'm starting to feel the crash. Take another one, finish out the day, and then every single time between day 1 and day 2 of a GP at that point in my life, I would make sure to get enough sleep, because if your body is so used to that much caffeine that you can't really increase it at all, you can't counteract the effects of having less sleep. Nowadays, if I am building a deck at 4 a.m. The night before a GP, as long as I maybe have a cup of coffee on top of a Red Bull, I'll be able to counteract the effect of sleep, and just make sure that I'm still focused and still alert and still thinking through the best decision trees possible. So it's just kind of knowing yourself, knowing your body, knowing how these kind of things affect you, and knowing what you can do to make sure that you don't feel tired, that you don't feel anxious or jittery, and that kind of stuff helps combat nerves too, right? But the best thing to combat nerves is just being in situations more than once. So there's only so much you can do, and again, these kind of things are only going to increase your tournament performance by maybe 5 or 10%, but those fringe cases, you don't want to miss those, right? You don't want to have been in a situation where you make a misplay and you don't realize it till after the fact, or you just make a misplay and you never even realize it, right? The extra little bit of help you get from eating properly or sleeping properly, that kind of stuff, you may never even realize that you made a mistake. and again, it's not going to happen every single tournament, but you really just want to make sure that you're in the best position possible to do as well as possible. And that's something that I do. That's something that I don't think a lot of other top players do, because they don't care that much, and they feel confident enough to play their best game no matter what. But for me, and I hope for some of you, like, this is something that you want to think about. And last but not least, I guess there's something else that this is more of a personal thing than I guess I have really any science for. But when you eat food, you're digesting it. It affects your I think it affects your blood sugar, again, your insulin, something like that. Like when you're in the process of digesting, that really slows down your brain. And I'm sure, like, you've probably heard of like the food coma, and this is something that, like, you know about. Like when you eat food, like for the next hour or so, like you can get really tired depending on what you ate. So when I'm at a tournament, I don't eat food at all during the day. That's just like something that I do. I'm capable of going, 12 hours without eating, without really feeling that hungry. I know some people can't. So if you are going to eat during a tournament, in order to avoid that, like, food coma, I would pay very close attention during your normal life to what foods you feel like you can eat without getting into that. And again, I recommend fruit. I think granola bars are pretty good at that as well, from my experience, but I know it's different for everybody. So make sure that you have something that you can eat that you know isn't going to make you feel tired, isn't going to impact your brain's performance, so that when you do get hungry in the middle of the day and you do need to remedy that to stop you from playing worse, you know that it's not going to affect your later rounds. So those are my tips. That's what I do, and I think it's really been very crucial to my success. I know particularly last weekend in the finals, or in the top 8 of the GP, the Wanderer GP, I slept for 10 hours that night. I woke up, I got a Red Bull immediately. I ate fruits that I absolutely hate because they were the only things available in the concession stand. Like, I usually eat an apple or like maybe a banana if possible. But they only had like cantaloupe, grapes, and what's the other one? Cantaloupe and honeydew. And they had pineapple. Like, these are my least favorite fruits imaginable. But I'm like, all right, bottoms up, because I know that this is the sugar I'm gonna need to make my brain function properly. And I think I really played my best during the top 8 of the game, or top 8 of the tournament. So I think it helped a lot, and that's kind of why I wanted to make this video today, because I do feel that I was playing my best game. Whereas at like Montreal, for example, I slept 3 hours and I played terribly. So that's my take on playing your best game in Forcible. I hope this is helpful information to you guys, maybe something to think about. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I did see a comment earlier about asking why my team played Imul in the Montreal GP, so I'll probably give that a video coming up here soon. And yeah, once again, any suggestions, leave them in the comments or on social media. Thanks for watching once again, guys. Appreciate it, and I hope you have a good day.